Stella George had rehearsed the breakup 12 times in the elevator. By the time the doors opened on the 38th floor, she had forgotten every single word. That was a problem. An even bigger problem was the man waiting at the end of the hallway. Kang Do-hyun stood beside the window in a black shirt with the sleeves pushed to his forearms, looking like someone had personally designed him to ruin sensible women's decision-making skills. He was ridiculously tall, broad shoulders, dark hair falling slightly over his forehead. A silver watch sat against one powerful wrist, while black ink disappeared beneath his sleeve and climbed toward his shoulder. Stella stopped walking. Do-hyun looked at her. Neither spoke. Then his mouth curved. "You're late." Stella folded her arms. "You're arrogant." "I know. That wasn't a compliment." "I know that too." She hated how easily he made her smile. She immediately stopped smiling. Do-hyun noticed. Of course he noticed. His eyes stayed on hers as she approached, and something about the silence between them felt louder than the music drifting from the hidden speakers. Stella had promised herself this would be quick. 10 minutes. She would tell him they were finished. She would walk out. She would go home, delete his number, delete the photographs, and pretend she had never spent the past 3 months discovering that a terrifying Korean billionaire could also have an annoyingly funny sense of humor. Instead, she stopped directly in front of him. "You're supposed to be getting married." His expression changed. Barely, but Stella saw it. "That's what everyone keeps telling me. And I keep telling everyone they're assuming too much." She stared at him. "You invited me here to talk about your wedding?" "No." "Then why am I here?" Do-hyun glanced toward the small table near the window. A bottle of sparkling water sat beside 2 glasses. No champagne, no flowers, no dramatic romantic setup. Just 2 chairs. Stella raised an eyebrow. "You planned a serious conversation." "I tried." "You tried." "I ordered flowers." Her lips twitched. "What happened?" "My security team thought the delivery was suspicious." Stella laughed before she could stop herself. Do-hyun smiled. That's the first time you've smiled at me tonight. Don't get excited." "Too late." She looked away. That was exactly the problem. He could make her angry. He could make her laugh. And somehow, standing 6 feet away from him could make her feel more nervous than standing in front of 200 strangers. Do-hyun moved toward the table. He stopped several feet away from her. He never touched her without asking. That had surprised her from the beginning. For a man whose reputation made grown men lower their voices, he had always been careful with her. "Sit?" he asked. Stella hesitated, then nodded. They sat opposite each other. For a few seconds, neither spoke. Finally, Stella said, "I came here to end this." His jaw tightened. "Okay." The single word hit harder than she expected. "You don't even want to argue?" "I want to." "Then argue." "I won't argue with a decision you've already made." She looked at him. "That's annoyingly mature." "I have occasional moments. Very occasional." "I'll take it." She almost laughed again. Then she noticed the black box on the floor. It was open. Inside was a ring. Stella's stomach dropped. "What's that?" Do-hyun followed her gaze. He didn't answer immediately. Stella stood. "Do-hyun." He rose too. "Stella, wait." "No." She pointed toward the box. "That's an engagement ring." "Yes." Her eyes sharpened. "So it is true. It isn't what you think. Men say that right before everything becomes exactly what you think." He almost smiled. Almost. But her expression stopped him. Stella stepped backward. "Who is she?" "No one." "That is a terrible answer. I mean, she isn't the person you think she is." "Then tell me who she is." Do-hyun remained silent. Stella's chest tightened. "You said there was no woman." "There isn't." She stared at the ring. "Then why is there a ring?" His voice became quieter. "Because my family bought a future before I had a chance to choose one." Stella froze. Outside the glass, Seoul glittered beneath them. Thousands of windows. Thousands of lives. And suddenly the room felt impossibly small. "Your family arranged your marriage?" "Yes." "And you didn't tell me?" I was trying to protect you. She laughed once, but there was no humor in it. People always say that when they're actually protecting themselves. Do-hyun accepted the blow. Maybe because he knew she was right. Stella turned toward the door. Where are you going? Home. Stella. She stopped. His voice had changed. Not commanding. Not threatening. Just honest. I don't want you to leave. Her fingers tightened around the door handle. Then give me one reason to stay. Silence. Do-hyun walked closer, then stopped at a respectful distance. His eyes held hers. I've spent my entire life being told who I should trust, who I should marry, who I should protect, and what I should sacrifice. He swallowed. Then you walked into my life and started telling me I was allowed to choose. Stella's anger faltered. He continued. And now I'm terrified that choosing you will cost me everything. She looked at him for a long moment. Maybe it should. His eyes lifted. What? Maybe you should finally lose something you were never brave enough to choose. Neither moved. Then Do-hyun slowly extended his hand. Not touching her. Just offering it. May I? Stella looked at his hand. Then at him. Her heart was beating far too quickly. She placed her hand in his. His fingers closed gently around hers. Warm. Steady. Careful. For the first time that night, Stella didn't feel like running. And that scared her more than anything. Because the woman who had entered that room determined to end their relationship was beginning to wonder whether she had come there for the exact opposite reason. For a few seconds, Stella simply stared at their joined hands. It was such a small thing. Almost ridiculous. A hand. 5 fingers. A simple question followed by a simple answer. Yet somehow, that tiny decision felt heavier than the entire elevator ride that had brought her there. Do-hyun did not pull her closer. He did not try to turn the moment into something it wasn't. He simply held her hand and waited. Stella looked up at him. You're making this very difficult. His eyebrow lifted. I haven't done anything. Exactly. He almost smiled. She narrowed her eyes. Don't. Don't what? Look pleased with yourself. I was trying to look innocent. You're terrible at innocent. I've been told. By whom? My sister. Stella blinked. You have a sister? Soo-jin. And she knows about me? His expression shifted. She knows enough. Stella slowly withdrew her hand. Enough. Do-hyun let her. She knows that there is one woman in my life who makes me forget meetings, deadlines, and occasionally common sense. Stella stared at him. That sounds dangerously like a compliment. It was. You're getting bold. I've been holding back for 3 months. The sentence landed differently. Stella's expression softened. 3 months. 3 months of late-night conversations. 3 months of accidental smiles across crowded rooms. 3 months of him finding ridiculous excuses to see her. 3 months of her pretending she wasn't waiting for his messages. She looked toward the window. Why didn't you tell me about your family? Do-hyun walked toward the table and poured water into one of the glasses. Because every time I tried, I thought I would lose you. You almost did anyway. I know. He handed her the glass. She accepted it. Their fingers didn't touch this time. That tiny distance somehow felt deliberate. Tell me everything, she said. Do-hyun nodded. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His expression hardened. Stella noticed immediately. Who is it? My father. The warmth disappeared from the room. Do-hyun answered. Father. A man's voice came through the speaker, low and furious. Stella couldn't understand every Korean word, but she understood the tone. Do-hyun's shoulders became rigid. No. A pause. I said no. Another pause. His eyes moved toward Stella. Then he spoke more quietly. You don't get to decide this anymore. He ended the call. Stella stared at him. What did he want? Do-hyun placed the phone on the table. My family has arranged a formal announcement for tomorrow. Her stomach sank. About the marriage? Yes. And you were supposed to attend? Yes. Are you? No. She studied him. You're really going to refuse them? I've been refusing them my entire life. Then why does this feel different? He looked at her. Because this time, I'm not refusing for myself. Stella's heart stumbled. Do-hyun. He stepped closer, still leaving space, still waiting. I don't expect you to choose me tonight. She looked up. I don't even know if I can. I know. You could lose your company. Yes. Your family. Yes. Your reputation. His expression barely changed. I've survived worse. Stella shook her head. You say that like losing everything is easy. No. His voice became softer. I'm saying that losing everything would be easier than spending the rest of my life knowing I was too afraid to choose. Silence settled between them. Then Stella noticed something on the table. A photograph. She picked it up. It showed a much younger Do-hyun standing beside an older man in front of an enormous estate. But there was someone else in the photograph. A woman. Stella turned it over. There was a date written on the back. Her expression changed. Who is she? Do-hyun went completely still. That photograph wasn't supposed to be here. Stella looked at him. You know her. He took a breath. Yes. Who is she? My mother. Stella's eyes widened. But I thought she died when I was 19. Stella lowered the photograph. I'm sorry. Do-hyun looked toward the window. She wasn't supposed to die. Something about those words made Stella's chest tighten. What happened? I don't know. You don't know? My father said it was an accident. And you don't believe him? No. The room suddenly felt different. This wasn't simply a story about an arranged marriage anymore. There was something underneath it. Something older. Something buried. Stella looked at the engagement ring. Then at the photograph. Then at Do-hyun. Why do I feel like that ring has something to do with all of this? He didn't answer. And that silence told her everything. Stella stepped closer. Do-hyun. He finally met her eyes. There are things about my family that I haven't told you. Then tell me now. I was trying to keep you away from them. And how did that work out? His mouth twitched despite himself. Terribly. Obviously. For the first time since the phone call, the tension eased. Only slightly. Then the elevator bell sounded outside. Do-hyun's expression changed instantly. He moved toward the door. Stay here. Stella frowned. Absolutely not. Stella. You've spent 3 months telling me I should trust you. Now you're telling me to sit quietly while someone arrives. He stopped. She crossed her arms. Whoever is coming can talk to both of us. A knock sounded. 3 slow knocks. Do-hyun didn't move. Neither did Stella. Then a woman's voice came from the other side. Do-hyun. His face went pale. Stella whispered. Who is that? He looked at her. The woman my family wants me to marry. The knock came again. This time Stella didn't step backward. She lifted her chin. Open the door. Do-hyun stared at her. Are you sure? Stella gave him a nervous smile. No. She glanced at the engagement ring. But apparently tonight wasn't going to be normal anyway. Do-hyun opened the door. A woman stood in the hallway wearing an elegant ivory suit, accompanied by 2 security officers. She looked past Do-hyun. Then her eyes landed on Stella. The woman's expression didn't show anger. It showed recognition. And that was far more disturbing. She slowly looked at the engagement ring on the table. Then back at Stella. You found it. Stella frowned. Found what? The woman stepped inside. The ring. Do-hyun's voice became dangerously quiet. Yuna. Yuna ignored him. Her gaze remained fixed on Stella. You really don't know, do you? Stella's pulse quickened. Know what? Yuna looked at Do-hyun. For the first time, the confidence disappeared from her face. Then she said the words that changed everything. That ring was never meant for me. Stella looked at Do-hyun. He said nothing. Yuna continued. It was commissioned 24 years ago. Stella stared at the ring. Why? Yuna's eyes met hers. Because your name was already attached to it. Stella stared at Yuna. My name? Yuna nodded. Stella George. The room seemed to lose all sound. Even the city outside looked frozen. Stella slowly turned toward Do-hyun. Say something. He didn't. That frightened her more than anything. Do-hyun. His eyes dropped to the ring. I didn't know. Yuna gave a bitter laugh. Of course you didn't. Do-hyun's jaw tightened. Explain. Yuna stepped farther into the suite. 24 years ago, your mother discovered that your father had made an agreement with another family. Stella's heart began pounding. What family? Yuna looked directly at her. The George. Stella shook her head. My family? Yes. Why? Yuna glanced toward the photograph. Your grandmother and Do-hyun's mother were close friends. They believed the two families could protect each other. Stella frowned. That still doesn't explain the ring. No. Yuna's expression became serious. The ring was created as a symbol of that agreement. Do-hyun stepped forward. What agreement? Yuna looked at him. A business alliance. She paused. And a promise. Stella's eyebrows rose. What promise? Yuna's eyes moved between them. That one day, if the two families agreed, their children would be allowed to choose whether they wanted a future together. Stella stared at her. That sounds like an arranged marriage. It would have been, Yuna said, if they had forced it. But they didn't. No. Yuna looked at Do-hyun. Your mother refused. Do-hyun's expression changed. My mother. She said children should never inherit their parents' decisions. Stella felt something inside her shift. So why was the ring kept? Because your grandmother believed the promise should remain. Do-hyun picked up the ring box. And my father? Yuna's face hardened. He wanted the agreement enforced. Silence. Do-hyun looked down at the ring. So the engagement announcement was never supposed to be about me, Yuna said. Stella looked at her. Then why were you involved? Yuna smiled sadly. Because my father and Do-hyun's father wanted to use my family to make the arrangement politically acceptable. Do-hyun's eyes narrowed. And you agreed? I did. Why? Yuna looked toward the window. Because I thought I could survive a loveless marriage. Stella's expression softened. But you don't want that either. No. Yuna looked at her. I came here tonight because I wanted to meet the woman who made Do-hyun finally say no. Stella didn't know what to say. Yuna walked toward the table. She picked up the photograph. His mother would have liked you. Do-hyun looked away. For the first time, Stella saw grief behind his controlled expression. Not the polished billionaire. Not the intimidating man everyone feared. Just a son who had spent years wondering what really happened to his mother. Stella moved closer. Do-hyun. He didn't look at her. I should have known. You couldn't have known. My mother left clues everywhere. Then why didn't anyone find them? He looked at Yuna. She answered quietly. Because your father made sure nobody looked. The room went silent. Do-hyun's face became unreadable. Then his phone vibrated. He looked at the screen. A message. His expression changed. What? Stella asked. He turned the phone toward her. A photograph had been sent. It showed an old storage room. On a wooden table sat another jewelry box. Next to it was a handwritten letter. The message beneath the photograph contained only 4 words. Your mother knew everything. Stella felt a chill. Who sent it? Unknown number. Yuna stepped closer. Show me. Do-hyun handed her the phone. She studied the photograph. Then her face drained of color. I know that room. Where? Your father's old estate. Do-hyun immediately reached for his coat. Stella caught his arm. He stopped. She looked at him. I'm coming. No. Her expression hardened. You just spent an hour telling me that choosing someone means actually letting them choose. Don't start contradicting yourself now. His eyes met hers. You could be walking into danger. So could you. I can protect myself. And I can make my own decision. He stared at her, then slowly nodded. Stay beside me. Stella smiled faintly. Was that an order? No. Good. Yuna looked between them. You two are exhausting. Stella laughed. Thank you. I wasn't complimenting you. I know. For the first time that night, Do-hyun smiled. Then they left. The drive through Seoul was almost silent. The city passed outside the windows in streaks of gold and blue. Stella sat beside Do-hyun in the back of the armored car. Yuna sat opposite them. Nobody spoke for several minutes. Finally, Stella broke the silence. Do-hyun? Yes. If we survive tonight, I need an answer. He turned toward her. To what? Us. His expression softened. You'll have one. No. She shook her head. I don't want a promise made because you're afraid of losing me. He listened. I don't want to be your rebellion against your father. She paused. And I definitely don't want to be someone's secret. Do-hyun's eyes remained on hers. You won't be. Don't say that unless you mean it. I mean it. Stella looked down at their hands. They were resting on the seat between them. Neither touched. After a moment, Do-hyun asked quietly, May I hold your hand? Stella smiled. Yes. His fingers slipped gently around hers. No urgency. No pressure. Just warmth. The car continued through the city. And somehow, that simple gesture felt more intimate than anything else that had happened that night. When they reached the estate, the gates opened automatically. The mansion stood beneath a pale moon, enormous and silent. Do-hyun stepped out first. Stella followed. Yuna remained close behind them. Inside, the house smelled of old wood and expensive furniture. Do-hyun led them through a corridor. He stopped at a locked door. This room hasn't been opened since my mother died. Stella looked at him. How do you know? My father told me never to enter. She raised an eyebrow. That sounds like an invitation. Despite everything, he laughed. That's exactly what my sister used to say. He entered a code. The door opened. Dust floated through the beam of their flashlights. There was the table from the photograph. And on it sat the second jewelry box. Do-hyun approached slowly. He opened it. Inside was another ring. But this one was older. Beneath it lay a letter. He unfolded it. His eyes moved across the page. Then stopped. Stella saw his face change. What does it say? He handed her the letter. She read it. The handwriting was elegant. The message was short. My son, if you are reading this, then I failed to tell you the truth. Your father will tell you that love is weakness. He is wrong. The greatest weakness is living a life chosen by someone else. The ring was never meant to bind you. It was meant to remind you that you always had a choice. If you meet Stella George, do not choose her because of this promise. Choose her only if she makes you want to become the man you were afraid to be. Stella's eyes filled with tears. Do-hyun took the letter from her. He read the final line. His mother had written, and if she does not choose you, let her go with dignity. That will be the first proof that you truly love her. Do-hyun closed his eyes. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Stella whispered, She knew. Yes. She knew you would meet me. I don't know. Yuna looked at the letter. Maybe she simply hoped. Do-hyun turned toward Stella. There was no arrogance left in his face. No billionaire confidence. No carefully controlled image. Just a man standing in front of the woman he loved, terrified that the answer might not be what he wanted. Stella. She looked at him. I need to ask you something. She nodded. Do you want to leave? Her eyes softened. You mean right now? I mean from me. She stared at him. You're giving me an escape. Yes. Even after everything? Yes. Why? Because my mother was right. His voice cracked slightly. If I love you, I can't make your choice for you. Stella slowly walked toward him. She stopped a few feet away. I came here tonight planning to end this. I know. I thought you were lying to me. I know. I thought the ring meant you had chosen someone else. I understand. She smiled through the tears gathering in her eyes. And now I discover your dead mother basically left us relationship instructions. A small laugh escaped him. Yes. That is honestly the strangest family drama I've ever experienced. He smiled. She would have liked that. Stella looked at him. Then she extended her hand. Do you remember what you asked me earlier? May I? She nodded. Yes. He took her hand. This time she stepped closer willingly. Their foreheads nearly met, but they stopped with comfortable space between them. No rush, no performance, no pressure. Just two people finally choosing honesty. Stella whispered, "I don't know what tomorrow looks like. Neither do I. I don't know whether your family will accept me. They don't have to. I don't know whether this will be easy. It won't." She smiled. "At least you're honest. I learned." She squeezed his hand. "But I know one thing." He waited. "I don't want to run." His eyes softened. "Neither do I." Outside, thunder rolled across the Seoul sky. Then the lights in the mansion suddenly went out. Yuna froze. Do-hyun. He looked toward the hallway. A sound came from downstairs. A door closing. Then another. Do-hyun's entire posture changed. "Stay behind me." Stella immediately shook her head. "No." He looked at her. She whispered, "Together." He nodded. They moved toward the corridor. The emergency lights flickered on. At the far end stood an older man. Do-hyun stopped. "Father." The man looked at Stella, then at the letter in Do-hyun's hand. His expression revealed something Stella had never expected. Fear. "You weren't supposed to find that." Do-hyun's voice was calm. "What did you do to my mother?" The older man's silence answered before his words did. Stella felt Do-hyun's hand tighten around hers. His father finally spoke. "I didn't kill her." Do-hyun stared at him. "But I let her disappear." The confession echoed through the corridor. "My mother was alive? For 3 years after everyone believed she was dead." Do-hyun's breathing stopped. "Where is she?" His father looked toward the locked room. "She left Korea." "Where?" "Africa." Stella's heart stopped. Do-hyun looked at her. His father continued. "She went to Lagos." Stella's eyes widened. "Why?" His father looked directly at her. "Because your grandmother helped her escape." Everything suddenly connected. The ring, the promise, the photograph, the letter, the missing woman, their families. None of it had been coincidence. Do-hyun looked at Stella. She looked back. Neither knew what to say. Then his father said the sentence that changed their future completely. "Your mother has been alive all these years." Do-hyun's eyes filled with tears. Stella reached for his hand. He held hers. This time he didn't need to ask. And as the first light of dawn began to appear beyond the Seoul skyline, Stella realized something. She had arrived that night determined to end a relationship. Instead, she had uncovered a family secret that had survived decades. She had discovered a love story that began before she was even born. And somewhere in Lagos, a woman who had been declared dead was still alive, waiting. The next morning, Do-hyun stood on the balcony of the penthouse, phone pressed against his ear. Stella stood beside him. Yuna was already arranging the first flight. Do-hyun finally heard the voice he had spent years believing he would never hear again. "Do-hyun." His eyes closed. One tear slipped down his cheek. "Mom." Stella covered her mouth. The voice on the phone trembled. "My son." Do-hyun couldn't speak. 24 years of questions collapsed into one word. "I'm here." His mother cried. "So am I." Stella looked out over Seoul. The city was waking. Cars moved through the streets. Lights disappeared from office towers. Morning arrived as though nothing extraordinary had happened. But everything had changed. Do-hyun ended the call. He turned toward Stella. "I have to go find her." She smiled. "Then go." He looked surprised. "You're coming." Stella laughed softly. "You really need to stop asking questions you already know the answer to." He smiled. Then he held out his hand. She took it. Not because a ring demanded it. Not because their families expected it. Not because destiny had written their names beside each other. She chose him, and he chose her. That was the difference. Months later, the engagement ring remained in the jewelry box, untouched, unclaimed, because Stella had made one thing clear. If there was ever going to be a ring between them, it would never represent an arrangement. It would represent a choice. Do-hyun agreed. And when the day finally came, there was no family contract. No secret promise. No pressure. Only two people standing before the people they loved. When he finally asked her the question, he didn't mention destiny. He didn't mention their families. He didn't mention the ring. He simply said, "Stella, will you choose me?" She smiled. Yes. And that answer meant more than any promise their families could ever have written. Because sometimes love doesn't begin when two people meet. Sometimes it begins when they finally become brave enough to choose each other freely. And sometimes the most dangerous secret isn't who you're supposed to marry. It's discovering who your heart already chose. If this story pulled you in, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to the Afro K Tales, share it with someone who loves emotional twists, and tell us in the comments. Would you have stayed after discovering the truth, or would you have walked away? Because Stella walked into that elevator believing she was ending a love story. She walked out carrying something far more powerful. A choice. And for the first time in his life, Kang Do-hyun had won too. Thank you for watching the Afro K Tales. Every story brings another unforgettable journey of love, secrets, courage, betrayal, and unexpected destiny. Subscribe and return for more powerful stories where impossible choices create unforgettable endings. Until the next story, keep your heart open, your imagination alive, and never underestimate the secret waiting behind one ordinary door.